Busy days are the perfect time for a quick meal, one that can be prepared ahead and finished up at the last minute. Today, Nathalie will demonstrate Mimi's flank steak and horseradish sauce, easy and healthful grilled carrots and broccoli, an unusual dish of orange oven roasted potatoes, and Markham family lemon meringue pie. It's a meal short on last-minute work with delicious results.
Hello, I'm Nathalie Dupree, and when the day is busy, you want to maximize your time, particularly your time on the grill. So first of all, I'm going to do both the vegetables and the meat on the grill, but I also want to tell you that you should think ahead about some things for another meal later in the week that you can be getting ahead. For instance, you could roast some red peppers on the grill when you were all through, char them, peel them, and use them 2 or 3 days later, maybe in a red bell pepper salad or in something else that you wanted to do. Now, the first thing that you want to do ahead of time is to peel your carrots. A lot of people don't feel the need to peel them for the grill. I prefer them that way, but it's really optional. And all it takes then is just to cut off the tops and the bottoms. Save those tops and bottoms, if you will, for your stock some other time, and then you'll have them. Then go ahead now and trim a head of broccoli, and also peel it. You don't want that tough old peel on it when you're cooking it, so peel that. I have a neat little gadget asparagus peeler that might work with this too. And get rid of the tough end. I think I just did. And you can cut it in half if you want to. It just depends. About that size, you might consider cutting it ahead. Much smaller, you wouldn't want to. Now, very easy. You cook the carrots and the broccoli briefly, separately, in the microwave or in boiling water until they're soft, but not much, like about 5 minutes. And then you just add the carrots if you're cooking them in water and simmer them about 5 minutes. It's about 5 minutes either way, because in the microwave you have the volume, and in your boiling water you just cook them. They're cooked individually, more or less. So then go ahead, put them on the grill when they're par-cooked that way. Let them just get lightly charred all over, and as these are. If you don't have a separate grill on your stovetop, and you don't want to heat up the grill outside, and by the way, between the time that you put them on the grill, you run that broccoli under cold water. That's called refreshing it, and that stops the cooking. So you can do that days in advance, and then when you're ready for them, just brush them with oil and throw them on the hot grill. I got a little nervous there because they smelled like they were burning, and there's a difference between burning and charring. Would you like to see? Let's see. Yeah, see, that guy's just a little bit more burned than he should be. And then when you're all through, you season them to taste with salt and pepper. I'll just throw this onto the grill so you can see me brushing them now here, and that's par cooked. You can see the difference probably even in the way that it looks. And these are already in the platter, but you can see you might want that one just a little bit darker. So there we go. Now, let me talk to you about our flank steak here. And I truly love a flank steak. And the flank steak is really from just under the short loin right here. It's, I guess you could say it's about the waist, if you want to. If you were a cow, it'd be about your waist. So now mix together soy sauce, Dijon mustard, pepper, and I've already got that ground, pepper, chopped garlic, in fact, I'm going to have a little sip of tea here. The name of that cup is Floradora. I can always remember it because it makes me think of my friend Flora, who used to be an apprentice at the cooking school years ago. And that's Worcestershire sauce. So chopped garlic and Worcestershire sauce. And pour over a flank steak. I actually just always marinate them right here in a plastic bag. This flank steak sometimes is called London broil in the grocery stores. It's actually incorrectly called London broil because that's technically the name of a dish. And sometimes they'll say you sirloin or top round rather than flank steak under the name of London broil. But I like the flank steak itself. And let's go ahead and add our marinade here. Then I've got a second, I think, to show you. See, isn't that great? You can just marinate it in the refrigerator 6 hours or up to 2 days. It's no big deal. Then when you're ready for it, you remove the steak from the marinade. I still want to show you those things to chop. And just shake it around here. Shake it off. Put it on your grill and grill it. If you have a grill, outdoor grills, or if you're broiling it even, it's about 6 inches from the heat. But right now, that's probably what that is anyway, down underneath there. About 6 or 7 minutes on each side. Then you let it rest about 10 minutes before slicing it. But the trick with flank steak is to always slice it on the diagonal. Let me see if I can show this to you. So this is cut a little more up and down than what I would like it. I'd like it to be more like this. And if you slice it on the diagonal, you'll always get a lovely, tender piece of meat. So let me just move this over now. Now that's what I call rare meat. Obviously, you can cook it a little bit longer if you'd like, but if you don't like luscious rare meat, you might want to think of something else, because I like this. If there are any leftovers, they're best served at room temperature, and I frequently make a salad from them. In fact, there'd be no reason why you couldn't make a cold salad from the broccoli and the carrots and the leftover flank steak. You could boil up that marinade if you want to and use it, but we've got a horseradish sauce for you. This makes about 2½ cups. And just take some store-bought mayonnaise. If you want to make homemade, you can, but I don't think it's going to make a considerable difference. And then add some jarred, prepared horseradish. You know, horseradish is interesting. I've been to some of my first Passovers in the last few years. I always go to the home of my former producer, Cynthia Stevens, for Passover, and that's when they pass it around. They call it the bitter herb. That's the first reference that I've heard of it, going back to the early times in the Old Testament. And then a little Worcestershire sauce until it's well blended. Then you store it covered in the refrigerator up to 2 weeks. It's just very zippy, and it goes nicely on the beef, but it's terrific on asparagus or on sandwiches. The asparagus I don't do with it until I've glutted myself in asparagus season, about the 10th batch of asparagus. Then I'll put a horseradish sauce on it. Now, oven roasted orange potatoes, or orange oven roasted potatoes, they're very different, and I think you're going to like them. First thing you do is to peel your potatoes and cut them into 1-inch chunks. These are pretty big guys. I think probably it'd be a little nicer if you had a smaller potato. And you know, you could do a new potato with this, a small new potato. That would be even nicer. But peel it. Isn't it wonderful when you have a good potato peeler? Almost as good as a hot bath. And go ahead now and cut it into 1-inch chunks. It's a big struggle. Gadgets are important. You need to get the best quality gadgets you can, because a cheap gadget is no good at all. It doesn't do the job. And although we call a potato peeler a gadget, point of fact is it's a pretty important implement for the home. And go ahead and toss it in olive oil. Then add some grated orange peel. And here's my zester. And this is a good gadget too. Just go ahead and pull this around there. Now, if you don't want it to be in these large pieces like that, you can just go ahead, chop it, and put that in there, and then a little paprika. So let's add these things here, just toss them, and you might as well do it in your bowl. Why dirty something up? And then you pour them, they're already in this baking dish, pour them into a baking dish if you've tossed them elsewhere, and you could toss them if you wanted to also in your plastic bag if you needed to do them ahead of time. Bake them at 400 degrees for about half an hour. Then stir them very thoroughly and continue baking the potatoes until they're crispy and golden brown, which takes about 45 minutes longer. You could stop them halfway if you needed to, and then serve them at once when they're nice and crispy and golden brown. Aren't they nice? Season them with some salt and pepper. Don't season them too soon, because the salt will extrude the liquid.
Stay tuned for more Nathalie Dupree Cooks. To receive a free copy of today's recipes, send a stamped, self-addressed business-sized envelope to Meatboard Test Kitchens, 444 North Michigan Avenue, Department ND, Busy 214, Chicago, Illinois, 60611. Nathalie will return after a word from her guest.
Hello there, I'm Robin Vitetta, and today we're going to talk about napkins. I understand a lot of people have a lot of questions about napkins, what types to buy, how to clean them, how to store them, and how to fold them when you have special occasions. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and I want to start with purchasing napkins. There are so many different kinds out there. How do you know what to buy, what colors, what styles, what fabrics? Something to remember. You can buy cotton, you can buy linen, and maybe you even have family heirloom, beautiful linen cotton napkins already. So keep this in mind for what you already have and what you plan on purchasing. You can buy cotton, linen, a polyester cotton blend, or polyester. Now, if you plan on folding napkins for special occasions, keep in mind that polyester napkins, such as this one here, do not hold folds well, and they don't hold creases well. They'll eventually unfold, and you'll have them at your table, and they won't look at all like they did when you started. So stick with cotton, or a cotton poly blend, or linen. Here I have some already. Now, storage. Very important what you do with these, because many times you pull them out at the last minute, and if they're wrinkled and you have not enough time, you're in a bind. What to do after you launder them, and we'll get to how you want to take care of that. Iron them and fold them into quarters and stack them. Many times it's important, if you plan on folding, to use some spray starch. Lightly spray starch them as you iron them, put them in a flat stack, and keep them in your cupboard until you're ready. Cleaning. Big issue with napkins. There's many times certainly they are not only for decoration, we use them, so many times there are food stains, and different food stains require different laundering techniques. Dry cleaning is an option always. If you plan to dry clean them and you have a stain, if it's a liquid stain, make sure you put some salt or cornstarch on the stain first. Tell the dry cleaner what it is. If you've got wine stains, white wine removes red wine. If you've got vegetable stains, do a warm water soak and then launder as usual. If you've got dairy, egg stains, it's a warm water soak. These are all kinds of things that are good to know. Keep a note of it for when those things happen. If you've got a wax stain, you have guests over, they accidentally get a little wax on the napkin. Easy to do. You remove what you can with a blunt knife this way. Then you would put a paper towel on either side of the napkin and iron. The paper towel then absorbs the wax. If you need more paper towels, use more paper towels. Then you can wash as usual. So that's basically what you need to know for storing and laundering. I'd like to do for you, just so you have for your own use, a quick fold. This is very simple. You can do it right before your guests arrive. You take a folded napkin that's folded in quarters, fold down one corner, fold down the next corner, turn it over, fold back the sides, and that's it. It really does not get any easier than that. And with this, it's nice because you have these little tucks. You can stick in your cutlery, you can stick in party favors, rolls, mints, surprises, whatever you'd like to stick in there for your guests. I have time for one more fold, so I'm going to do that. You have it also folded the same way. You want to roll down one end, roll down another end, roll down a third, quick, 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 and then turn under the sides. Now, when you have more time, you can certainly take your time with this, make it look a lot better. And also you have these tucks to put in whatever you'd like. So I think this should help you in how to select, purchase, and fold your napkins.
For nearly a century, Le Creuset's colorful French cookware has been a favorite in kitchens around the world. from its bold finishes and uncompromised quality to its easy-to-clean materials, the brand's range of iconic products are as easy to use as they are to love.
This is going to look a lot more confusing to you than it actually is to do it. It's the kind of recipe, however, that you should try to get as much done for as you possibly can ahead of time. It's my friend John Markham's lemon meringue pie. He's a very old friend of mine and was the book rep for my first books, New Southern Cooking and Nathalie Dupree's Matters of Taste. And this is his great-grandmother's recipe for lemon meringue pie. Now, the first thing that you do is get a heat-proof bowl, and in that, beat 7 egg yolks with 2/3 of a cup of sugar until it's pale in color and thick and creamy. That takes you about 7 minutes in a big mixer like this that has its own heat. Then beat in the juice and grated peel of 2 lemons. If you need to speed up that process, you can heat your lemon juice. It changes a little bit in flavor, but if you're in a hurry, you're in a hurry. Now go ahead and set the bowl. When all this is beaten and thick and light, remove it from here and set it. So this is just like magic. This is the same bowl. Set that bowl over a saucepan of simmering water. Now, it doesn't matter. You see a lot of recipes that say, don't let the water boil. It doesn't matter what's happening in this pan. What matters is what's happening in this pan. And these eggs don't want to be cooked more than 170 degrees. But they do have to, maybe 180, they do have to cook enough that they stretch and suspend, and this mixture thickens. And you cook it constantly until the mixture thickens. And it normally gets a little thicker than this, so it's not going to be quite perfect, but it's taken a long time to get to this point because it just has. So remove it from the heat. Now, beat egg whites. And you can beat your egg whites in 2 batches, but each time you need to have a clean bowl. You can beat 7 egg whites at one time, or you can beat 3 egg whites and fold them into this base, and then beat 4 more, or you can beat all 7 at one time. So I'm going to go ahead and just beat 7 at one time because that's easier for me. I have it in a copper bowl, which I have cleaned this copper bowl with lemon and salt and gone all the way around, and I've beaten these eggs, and they will sit in this copper bowl about 15 minutes. You want them to beat them till they have formed these nice soft peaks, and you can put them over your head. They have to cling to that bowl. If you overbeat them, if you beat them in an electric mixer, try to get one like this that has a rotary whisk that goes around the bowl, and try to get something that and try not to overbeat them. If you overbeat them, then you could stir in a little extra egg white. So, and then rebeat them, and that would help. Now, normally you stir a small portion of your egg whites into a mixture to lighten it, and then you fold the rest into the beaten whites. But part of this mixture is going to go in the base of your pre-baked pie crust, and part of the egg whites are going to go on top, so you can't use all of it. So that's where you get into the thing of should you beat 3 egg whites and then 4, or should you do all 7 at one time? You just have to watch what you're doing. So you're lightening this mixture, and now rather than doing what I normally do, put it back in there, I'm just going to add what I think might bring this whole total in here up to 4 eggs. You're just going to make a light base, which is a little different than a normal lemon pie. Let me tell you now how you could get some of this done ahead of time. A couple of days ahead of time, you could zest your lemons and juice your lemons. That would save an enormous amount of time. You could even make this base mixture, cool it down, and then put it back over your boiling water and bring it back just to warm, and then fold in your egg whites. So you could do that ahead of time. You could pre-bake your pie crust, and I'm going to show you the whole thing about how to pre-bake a pie crust in just a second. First thing you need to do is to spread this, and this is not quite as thick as it should be. I'm going to go ahead and put this in here, ladle it in, and yours will get thicker, and therefore you won't have quite as much volume. This will also set up once it's cold too. This is nice and warm. It's not hot, but it's warm. Let's see. I just don't want it to run over, and I don't want it to be difficult to add the egg white to the top of. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish all of this over the top, and then I'm going to tell you very quickly how to deal with different kinds of pie crusts that might not be your very own. Now you see, if you let that cool just slightly, but while it's still warm, and spread your meringue on the top. Oop, I see what I didn't do. If I could only teach you one thing, I think it would be to measure your things out ahead of time. Because if you measure things out ahead of time and you look and everything else is in, and you glob some meringue onto your counter, if God's with you, you'll glob it onto the sugar that you measured out for the whites that are supposed to go on top. So go back then and just fold in your sugar very quickly, which is the only confusing thing about beating all 7 of those whites at one time. And you can see that this has been going to fold on a lot easier, you see, and it even has a prettier gloss. Now go ahead and spread this all around the top. Now essentially what you're not going to do, and by the way, you won't really be cooking this base much more, and you'd want to tidy up that part that's come over. Essentially what's in the bottom here has already cooked. I am making a mess. I'm trying not to. There's just so much to teach you with this, and I'm trying to hurry, but you can see how pretty that would swirl right on there. You bake it at 350 for about 10 minutes or until the top of the meringue is browned, and then always let the pie cool before slicing, because otherwise your filling will still be a little running. You could use that custard as a topping for pound cake or to fill small tartlets and then top it with fresh berries without any whipped meringue if you just didn't have time to do the meringue. Okay, now let me get this all out of the way here, and then let me show you how to pre-bake a pie crust. Now, if you have a less than perfect world, you may have to resort to something else other than a homemade pie crust. And life isn't perfect for a lot of people, so here are some little tricks. There are a number of kinds of pie crust that you can use. This is a kind that comes frozen in a box, and I quite like it. You just unfold this into a pie pan. So first thing I want to do is just show you this one, unfold it into a pie pan. And I got 2 there, I guess. No, I got 1. Let's just see what's going to happen. Let's see what could happen to you. Well, obviously, life is not perfect. I didn't unwrap that perfectly. But if that happened to you, you should not get hysterical. You should not cry. You should get some water. And just, gonna have a little bit right underneath here, and just glue it together, push it together, and lots of times that happens because you try to unwrap it when it's still cracked. Now, gently place that in there and try to get it so that it's even all the way around. If it's not even all the way around, because you could either pick it up again, just like this, and move it, or you could trim off part and patch it. Very easy to patch pie crust when you're doing it with water. And by the way, just because we're on television, I'm having more trouble with this crust than I would normally ever do with one of these. This is a pretty reliable brand and a pretty reliable thing. But let's just show you what the worst that could happen to you is, because then you can see how to patch it. Now, if you want to make it look like yours, you want to decorate it. So go ahead and just go around the edges and push all the way around. And by the way, this is a metal pie plate, and I really wouldn't want to serve a pretty lemon meringue pie in a metal pie plate. I would really prefer serving it in glass. We just kind of ran out of glass, but that's what I do. Now, if you had this, here's something else you could do. You could make little tartlets from it. I'm just covering that up because it tends to flash in the camera. Here's a frozen pie crust, and if it's frozen, it unmolds a lot easier than if it's been sitting under the hot lights. But there's nothing that says that you can't move a store-bought pie crust to another pan and unfold it. Once again, it's the same thing. The devil really gets to me when I'm out here. So go ahead and patch this with water all the way around. And this has a removable bottom. So when you went when you baked it in there, push it out, it would be free form. So that's a very nice way of doing it. And the last thing that you could do is this. put it into a little tart tin. I don't have time to show that to you. When you pre-bake a pie crust, you may pre-bake it by crumpling a piece of wax paper, putting it in here, putting your rice in, and or beans, something heavy, and put them all the way out to the edges. Pre-bake it until it's lightly brown at the crust, 15 to 20 minutes, and then fill it with your cooked custard.
To receive a free copy of today's recipes, send a stamped, self-addressed business-size envelope to Meat Board Test Kitchens, 444 North Michigan Avenue, Department ND, Busy 214, Chicago, Illinois, 60611. Busy days are the perfect time for a quick meal, one that can be prepared ahead and finished up at the last minute. Today, Nathalie demonstrated Mimi's flank steak and horseradish sauce, easy and healthful grilled carrots and broccoli, an unusual dish of orange oven roasted potatoes, and Markham family lemon meringue pie. It's a meal short on last-minute work with delicious results.